Number 3, Chris Tremain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, what reports has he received on New Zealand's economic and financial performance?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I received a report from Statistics New Zealand that the current account deficit for the year ended December 2008 has increased to over $16 billion, or 8.9% of GDP. The deficit has now been above 8% of GDP for 4 successive years. The cumulative increase in New Zealand's net foreign liabilities during this period is in excess of $57 billion.
Chris Tremain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, how does this report compare with the position 10 years ago?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, 10 years ago, the previous Finance Minister, Dr Cullen, made a huge deal about how the current account deficit proved that all the economic policy for the last 15 years had been a failure. At that stage, it was just $4 billion, or 4% of GDP. That was before Labor embarked on a strategy of import-led growth, which has led to a doubling of the current account deficit.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, can the Minister explain why, given the growing current account deficit, the government has cut KiwiSaver, which encourages savings, deepens capital markets and reduces the gap in the current account? Or wouldn't that make just about as much sense as, I don't know, appointing Rodney Hyde
The Honourable
to
Bill
oversee
English.
the Commerce Commission?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the government is committing somewhere around $1 billion to incentives to KiwiSaver, but I might say that New Zealanders are changing their savings habits now. They are pulling back on consumption and increasing their savings in a way that's nothing to do with KiwiSaver, but all to do with an adjustment that needs to occur in this economy.
Chris Tremain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, what are the consequences of the deterioration in the external accounts over the past 10 years?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, first, there should be an adjustment so that those export sectors where New Zealand is genuinely competitive can prosper. Secondly, we need to be mindful of debt levels, and ratings agencies are reminding us of that. The net result of this blowout in the current account deficit is that now almost 1/12 of New Zealand's output accrues to foreigners.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, given that innovation increases productivity and reduces the current account deficit, why has the Minister cut the Fast Forward Fund and the R&D tax credits? And why has the government dismissed the findings of FEC's monetary policy review when manufacturers and exporters are being killed by exchange rates that bounce around like yo-yos?
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, if the Deputy Leader of the Opposition is interested, he didn't actually start asking a question. I thought the speech had gone on long enough. The Honourable Bill English.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. He's meant to start the question with a question word.
I was going to allow the Minister to answer anyhow because he did get onto a question eventually, but maybe we'd better have it. Could the Minister actually ask the member ask a question?
I'd be happy to rephrase the question,
No, if the member.
Why has the Minister cut the Fast Forward Fund and the R&D tax credit, and why has the government dismissed the findings of FEC's monetary policy review when manufacturers and exporters are being killed by exchange rates that bounce around like yo-yos?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the reason the government has got rid of the Fast Forward Fund is because the fund amounted to the government borrowing money to put into the fund to go and invest in the government bonds it had borrowed in the first place. It was a nonsensical money go-round of $700 million set up simply for branding purposes in election year.
John Boscawen.
Supplementary to the Minister of Finance. What plans does he have to act on the advice of the IRD, who, in their briefing to him as incoming minister, reaffirmed that a broad-based and lower-rate tax system, as provided for in National and Act's Confidence and Supply Agreement, is, and I quote, fundamentally sound?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government has acted on those principles, probably prior to the advice from the IRD, tax cuts will come into effect on the 1st of April, which move us further in the direction of a broad-based low-rate system. We announced the SME package just a few weeks ago, which made a number of changes again in line with the principle of a broad-based low-rate system. And over the next 4 or 5 years, when revenue is going to be very tight, it's important, in fact it's vital, that our tax system is as efficient as possible.
Question.